All right. Once again, thank you for your patience. We will go ahead and get started now, and we will have those that join us late can catch up and ask questions at the end. Once again, welcome to the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering, Summer Undergraduate Research Experience Information Session. This session is really designed to kind of outline what our summer research opportunities are within the School of Engineering, how to apply for them, and what that experience is going to actually look like for you should you come and join us this coming summer. So we have a short presentation that we put together for you that will go over lots of information. We're just going to ask at this point that you hold off your questions until the very, very end, because it's likely that we will answer those questions in the course of this presentation. At the end, we're going to save the rest of the time to answer any questions that you may have about the specific programs, as well as any questions you may have about applying and the application requirements. So we're going to go ahead and get started. At this time, I'm going to pass it off to my colleague, William Schwerin, who is going to talk to you about SURE, Summer Undergraduate Research.
All right, let's do this. Hi, everyone. My name is William. Nice virtually to meet you, and thank you so much for joining us on this webinar today. So I'm going to talk about SURE, the Summer Undergraduate Research Experience. I'll briefly go over that before handing it back off to Kevin. This is a program that we've been doing for years. I've been fortunate enough to work at the engineering school for over 13 years, and it's been here the entire time that I've been here. So it's a really great program and opportunity for students who are mid-level in their undergraduate career, so sophomores and juniors, with an interest in research, and to really dip your toe into getting research experience. Okay, so it is a summer research program that is 8 weeks long, hosted on campus. You know, the goal and the plan is always to be on campus, and we're planning for it to be on campus this summer, as long as everything, status quo stays the same. School is back on campus as well at USC, which is great. So yeah, we're planning to be back on campus, and it is an 8 week long program that allows students to gain research experience, work closely with current PhD students, as well as learn from faculty. And really the goals, as it says on these slides, on the slide here, is to enable, promote, and provide. So enable stellar undergraduate students with opportunities to participate in cutting edge research, promote equity and diversity in undergraduate and research programs, and provide professional and academic networking opportunities. You can make lifelong memories and friendships and networking, with a program like this. And it, while this program is intended for you to gain valuable research experience, hopefully, one day if you decide to apply to a PhD program, you can look back at your time on this program, while you're working on this program, as something great, and use it as a stepping stone potentially for a PhD program. So that is pretty much our SURE program. I don't know if we have one more slide after this, Kevin, if you can. Oh yeah, so here we go. So the dates are listed there. As I mentioned, it's an 8 week long program. There is a stipend. We provide housing on campus. We do provide transportation to and from wherever you're located in the US. And again, not only will you have time to do research, but there is time to build those friendships and connections outside of the academic setting. The plan is to host networking events with the other cohort members who are doing research. So it is a competitive program, and we're not the only research program during the summer that is taking place. So I definitely encourage you, while you're looking at our program, there are other programs out there, right? But ours is, we like to think that it's a pretty awesome program. You see the dates and some of the technical details. You can go ahead and take a picture of that if you want. It's the orientation date, June 13th, but I would just highly encourage you. We'll talk about eligibility a few slides later, but what you can do now is take a look at the webpage, look at the research projects that are available, because we do have a list of research projects that faculty have submitted that are part of our SURE program. And start filling out that application. It's through a Google form. The one thing that I would advise you is, in terms of eligibility, I know that we'll get to the eligibility later, but I do want to put it out there now. So there are letters of recommendation that are required. So that's really the one thing that's out of your control that you want to plan for. So start thinking about quickly, if you haven't already, because the deadline is coming up quick. You're going to want to start thinking about those recommenders ASAP, because again, that is something that is kind of out of your control. The rest is just a form you fill out online. So as it mentions here, we'll have community building events, professional development opportunities, as well as at the conclusion of your time, we'll have kind of a symposium where you can talk about your research, and it's just good, again, professional development experience that you'll have. So that's pretty much the SURE program. I know that I was talking a little bit fast, but I want to make sure that we get through all this to allow time for questions. So with that, I'll hand it back off to Kevin, who can speak about our exciting new partnership that we have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Billy. This is, I think Billy he hit on some really, really good points about why to do summer research. And, all of you that are here today, obviously you have an interest in summer research and really kind of expanding your resume. This is kind of the point of time where you're always thinking about, what can I do during the summer that's related to math, science, or engineering that builds your resume out. And so, of course, a lot of students will think of internships, which are always great and a great way to add information to your resume. But that next component would be to do some summer research. I will say this, if you do summer research, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to grad school. A lot of students will diversify their resume by doing internships some summer. They'll do research at other summers, and they just really add structure to the overall resume. I know for a fact, just talking to a lot of companies, a lot of them like to see students that have done some type of summer research on their resume, because it just shows that you understand the research process, that you've been involved in the laboratory setting, and that you've developed and found new strategies to answer problems. And so there's a lot of nonverbal things that this communicates on a resume. And so it really does look good when you are looking to add to it by adding summer research to your resume. As Billy mentioned, we have been working, tirelessly for the past 7 or 8 months on a new partnership to add to our summer undergraduate research experience, known as the Amazon SURE program. So what it is it's a dual partnership. It's the same SURE program, same summer undergraduate research as the other program that we just spoke on, except it adds a slight Amazon component to it. And so, you may be thinking, what does that mean? We've been working with Amazon to partner with them and figure out ways in which we can connect students that are currently at USC for the summer doing research through our summer undergraduate research experience with Amazon. They want to connect with these students that are doing research. So once again, that kind of goes back to show you that, employers and companies are looking for students that have these experience. And, a giant like Amazon is looking for these students. And so in this program, it will be very similar to our other SURE program. The students will be at USC in person, doing research over the course of 8 weeks. There will be, of course, collaboration with your faculty. You'll get a chance to meet faculty and professors, as well as current PhD students already working within the labs. Where this differs is that Amazon is really focused on students that have a computer science, electrical computer engineering, artificial intelligence, machine learning. Those are kind of the backgrounds that they're looking for this Amazon program. You will also get an opportunity to connect directly with Amazon. And so a portion of the time that you spend at USC will actually be spent physically at Amazon, at their local facility here. So you're going to get kind of a duality. You're going to get a chance to connect with our current faculty and our current PhD students at USC, as well as industry insiders at Amazon. And so there's going to be a lot of synergy and joint collaboration that happens. There will be a lot of networking opportunities that happen between the two. And there will also be some opportunity for you to kind of fill out Amazon. And so it almost, while it won't be an internship at Amazon, you will spend some time there working on various projects with them as well. And this will kind of build out your network in regards to industry as well as research. One of the things that we do within the USC Viterbi School of Engineering is we really look at students that have done summer research with us, and we try to keep in touch with you as you kind of are navigating through your undergraduate experience. And so once you're getting to the point where you're ready to graduate and thinking about graduate school or thinking about going into industry, we will definitely be in touch with you, and we like to potentially connect you with opportunities to apply to our master's and our PhD programs. Having spent time at USC during summer research, you already know some of the faculty, you already know some of the students that are currently working on their PhDs. And so, if it's a good fit and it's something you want to pursue, we encourage students that participate in this program to apply, and really, really encourage them to look at us for graduate school opportunities as well. So with our partnership with Amazon, I imagine that will happen as well. As I mentioned, this is a new partnership. It just got developed within the last 7 to 8 months. So this will be our first summer that we are actually doing this Amazon Sure program. So we're really excited about that. Once again, this is really, really looking at students that have a CS background, artificial intelligence, machine learning, electrical and computer engineering. All of those types of disciplines or areas of focus is what Amazon is looking for. So this just shows you just some of the diversity we have within our summer undergraduate research experience. As Billy said, it's a good thing for you to go to the website, look at all of the different projects that are available. There's projects in pretty much all of our engineering disciplines that we offer. And so you're able to see just how much is there and what really kind of speaks to you. And they're also very specific. So they're not going to be a generic, project. They give you information about each of those projects. And so we encourage you to apply to the ones that are interesting to you. But very similar to our regular short program, you're going to get a chance to meet and connect with students and faculty. You're going to get a chance to explore the city of Los Angeles. You're also going to get the professional development experience there as well as the networking experience. And you're going to be able to connect with all of the students in the SURE program. So it really is just kind of a variation of our already existing SURE program. And so at this point, I'm going to pass it off to Andy, who's going to talk to you about the eligibility requirements and how to apply. What does it take to apply, and what are we looking for?
Great, thank you so much. Hello, everybody. My name is Andy Jones-Liang, and I am the Associate Director with Viterbi Academic Services. So I'm not part of the admissions team, but I work very closely with them for the SURE program. And I would be the program manager for all of the SURE students once they have been selected and are coming to campus. So after you submit your application, I'm the one that you'll be working really closely with in terms of finding that match for the faculty member and the lab. And once you confirm the offer, then it would be a lot of logistics of getting the travel down, booking housing, all of that good stuff. So I am getting ahead of myself. So I want to back up and talk a little bit about eligibility requirements. So first, as it has been mentioned before, we're primarily looking for sophomore or junior year undergraduate students enrolled at a U.S. higher education institution. So the thing here to delineate is that for the Viterbi SURE program, that is for folks who are not from USC. So it really is open to anybody just outside of that. But for the for the Amazon SURE program, that is open to both current USC students as well as folks who are not from USC. So if you're not from USC, basically any of this is open to you. We say sophomore and junior just because a lot of these research labs are looking for some kind of experience, whether that be certain courses or certain programming experience. So I really do encourage you again to look through that list of research positions, because the faculty do lay out specifically the kind of skill sets that they're looking for. And in the application, you're also listing that out. I think for first years, it's not out of the question, but again, it just comes with that kind of experience that you gain from being a sophomore and junior that I think you would have more of a chance in order to be selected based on that. This is open to US citizens, permanent residents, or DACA recipients who are currently located in the US. At this time, our short programs are not available to international students, and that's just kind of the way that the funding is structured at this point. Could that change in the future? Maybe, but I think for now, just note that this is a pretty standard requirement for us, which is just to be a US citizen, permanent resident, or DACA recipient. We are looking for strong academic background. So what we mean by that is a GPA of 3.5 or higher. If you are, just below that a little bit, that's okay. I would say don't count yourself out automatically, because you could also have a lot of really great experiences that are really relevant to the lab. And I think for certain faculty, the GPA is important, but what's just as important is your ability to learn very quickly, to bring in your other sets of skill sets. So that's stuff that you would definitely be outlining in your application as well. So you have the list of acceptable majors here. Usually you want to be somewhere in engineering, but if you're in some sort of sciences, that's great too. And then you have to be available to be participate in the full length of the program. Again, those dates are June 13th to August 5th. And yes, at this point, we are tentatively saying that everybody is going to be here at USC in person. You'll be living on campus, you'll be going to the labs, and we will do our very, very best to make sure that that is possible, barring any sort of external situations with COVID. But other than that, we really do look forward to having and hosting students on our campus. Okay. And then, how to apply. So again, just go onto the website to read the overview about the program. Again, a lot of that has already been covered here. There's also a bunch of FAQs that you should, go ahead and review. I will stress again that the research positions list is really key to kind of figuring out if any of the labs are a right fit for you. In the application itself, it will ask you to rank your top 2 preferences. So but before you do that, you really should go through and review all of them. I will say that some of these labs can change in terms of their availability. In fact, I had just one today that was no longer available. So even if you're, as you're applying now, I really do ask that you all go back and just look at that list again. Once your application is submitted, you will receive another email from our office just to confirm again, hey, is this your top listed preference, or are there other labs on there that you would also be interested in? We'll be sure to work with you just to make sure we're in communication with each other, just because I know that it would be unfortunate if you applied for something that was no longer available and you didn't get the chance to say, well, here's something else that I would want. So we'll be sure to work with you through all of that. My advice when looking through the research positions is to not just read the description in and of itself. There are also links to the lab websites. There are the names listed of the faculty members. So it would be great if you can, kind of look through holistically what the lab is all about, what the faculty member is all about. That could affect how you write the statement of purpose or other things in your application, right? And speaking of that, you definitely want to have that statement of purpose. That is very key. It's just a brief statement about what interests you about the research. This might be also where you kind of talk about your own goals and how doing this particular research will help you advance in your goals. You don't have to list out the specific labs that you're interested in the statement of purpose, but I think just to generally say, like, these are the skill sets I am looking to gain, and here's how doing this research program, sure, in general, can help me get there, I think would suffice. You have your resume, your transcript. So it says official, but if you have an unofficial one, that's okay too. It's just sometimes for us, official is easier to read, though we understand that, for whatever reason, if you can't get it, we'll take the unofficial. That's perfectly fine. And as was mentioned before, there are the 2 letters of recommendation from an academic source. We do recommend 2 professors. Hopefully, if you've done any sort of research experience at your home institution, then you would certainly want to get that professor who's overseen you in a research capacity to write this letter and to kind of speak on the skill sets that you bring, how you work in a team, et cetera. But you can also, get a letter from a faculty member who taught you in a course that is really relevant to the research that you'd want to do. So those would be my recommendations. If you do have any questions about that, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to guide you through that process as well. But also just keep in mind that, yes, we are coming up to the deadline. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend that you reach out to the faculty member who would write that for you. I mean, it is really short, so hopefully it wouldn't be too big of a lift for them. And then in the application, and I'm going to drop this in the chat, it does link out to a separate form. So this is the separate form that you would send to your faculty where they can directly upload their letters of recommendation. If you can't upload the letter by yourself, I know sometimes that gets really awkward where, the professor wouldn't want to show you the letter directly. So this is that separate link you would send to them. They would upload it, and then we would just collect all of that on the back end. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Andy. That's a lot of good information. So at this point in time, we want to open it up for questions. I think there's one that's already come in. So if you have any questions about any of the information that we've already just kind of discussed, as you can see, the application deadline is coming up very quickly. It's going to be on Wednesday, February 16th, 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. So you want to make sure you have everything in and ready to go by then. And what's going to happen at the end of this presentation, you guys are all going to get kind of a follow-up email that has the links to all of the different SURE web pages, as well as the application. So don't feel like you have to remember where what the address is. We'll send you that again, as well as a application deadline reminder so that you know that it's coming up. So yeah, now we have questions that are coming in. I'll speak them out loudly, and then whoever wants to jump in out of Billy, Andy, we can just kind of tag team. So first question says, are California community college students eligible for both programs? Unfortunately, no. These 2 programs, I believe, are only eligible for students attending 4-year universities. Am I correct, Andy?
I have to get back to you on that. My understanding is just it's open to any U.S. higher institution.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, but my sense is that it should be open, whether that's 2 or 4 year. So that's my understanding.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we can get back that information to you. That would be great if it is. And we'll be able to follow up with you on that.
Yeah.
Let's see. How does the selection process work? Who evaluates who gets selected?
That's a great question. I can jump in on that. So it is ultimately up to the faculty members who run the labs to decide who they want to accept for those lab positions. So what's going to happen is once you submit your application with all of your materials, I will go based off of your preferences. So for example, if you list faculty A as your first preference and faculty B as your second preference, your application will be forwarded to them both. They get their own pool to look at, and then based on their own criteria of what they're looking for in terms of skill sets and maybe the experiences that the candidates are bringing in, they will select their top 1 or 2. Typically for any of these lab positions, there's really only like 1 or 2 positions. Some of them might have more, but it just all kind of depends on like what space they have available. But then once they select their top choices, we'll reach out and let the students know like, hey, you've been selected for this lab, and then you then will have the opportunity to either accept the offer or decline the offer. Yeah, that's how that works.
Cool. Another question, can you send in the recommendation after the due date?
We really do encourage the faculty to send in the recommendation by the application deadline. So that would be February 16th. And I will also be managing that application review process. So if we're collecting your materials and reviewing it and noticing that there is a missing application, we will let you know, and then we can follow up with the faculty to see if we can get that in. But our goal is to make sure that it gets in at the same time as the application. And if you or the faculty know that like, hey, something's going on, I need a day, that's fine, we'll work with them. But just in order to make sure that we expedite this process of getting it all collected for faculty review, we just do encourage you to have that very open conversation with your faculty about getting it in on time. So
that's a great question. We have another one. Will a mechanical engineering major be eligible for the Amazon opportunity if they have a solid background in coding/machine learning? Yes. So if you have that background, you also have that interest that you want to pursue, you will be eligible to apply to that program. Let's see, there is another question that came in the chat that says, how long would you recommend we wait before sending a follow-up email asking a letter of recommendation from a professor? This is a good question, and these are kind of good rules of thumb as well. I think both Andy and Billy, kind of stressed that now's the time to start asking for that letter of recommendation, considering that the deadline is coming up on the 16th. You want to give them as much time as possible. You definitely want to give them more than a day, more than a couple of days. So if you ask within the next day or so, I would first communicate when you need it by. In the ask. So let them know that you're applying to something that is due very soon and that the deadline is the 16th, but you would like to submit the complete application by the 15th. Always give yourself an extra day. You never know what's going to happen. Your computer could die, the internet might not work. These things always happen when you work up to the deadline. So giving yourself an extra day of cushion will make your life so much easier. But yeah, so I would even have them have it a day or two in advance of when you need it. That way, if they get behind, you still have time to get it in before the deadline. Let's see. Another question, just to clarify, for the Amazon Sure collaboration, people will not only be working on their research projects, but also Amazon-based projects. Is there a heavy emphasis placed on both, or is it still most lean towards the research? This is a really good question. The way that you should look at it is the project and the research that you will be doing at USC within the USC lab will closely tie into what Amazon is interested in. So they won't necessarily be two separate projects. You're going to just do research. And your part at Amazon, the research you're going to be doing is what Amazon is interested in. And so you may, and they're still working it out, but there may be opportunities at Amazon for you to discuss this research with partners at Amazon to really kind of dive deeper into how that research within artificial intelligence and machine learning can be utilized within Amazon. And so it's more of a synergy between the two and less of it being two separate entities or projects. It's kind of all the same.
And I will jump in here that if you notice, if you go in between the research positions listed for Viterbi Sure and Amazon Sure, sometimes there's the same lab listed under both categories, right? So all that is to say is that there are certain labs where it just happens to fall under the categories that Amazon is also interested in.
Great point. All right, another question. Would having more than 2 letters of recommendation give us a better chance of getting it accepted? I'll pass that one to Andy.
No, just 2, thank you.
Yeah, we only need 2, and just, let them know what you're applying to. They've written these before, so they know what we're looking for. Next question. Are we only limited to 2 research projects to show interest in? That's a great question.
Yeah, so, the way we thought about this is that we really want to make sure we are putting students into labs where there is like really high buy-in, right? So which is why we limited to kind of choice 1 and choice 2. I think the more we get into, choice 3, 4, 5, we kind of run into the risk of the students actually not being that into that lab. And so, but there is an additional information section in the application. So if in the case you're just like, hey, there's actually more that I would be interested in, you can let us know and then we'll be sure to work with you. But I mean, I think the sense is here, just from a sort of matching purpose, and this also being kind of a competitive process, we do want to make sure that faculty interest in the students and the student interest in the lab, that is a really strong pairing when we're kind of going through that matching process. So.
Makes sense. All right, next question. I attend a 4-year due to credits. I am considered a sophomore, but I'm actually a freshman. Will you think it'd be wise if I still applied? So my gut answer is yes. I think it would be fine. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
If you have credit, especially if you like have a lot of credits, and let's say you've like taken a lot of extra courses that really has helped you prepare to be, successful in a research environment, then I'm sure that's certainly something that you can elaborate on. Yeah, so that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. You definitely want to be set up for success. So that's great. Last question. I currently attend CSU Long Beach for my academic degree, and I'm also in the ROTC program at USC. Technically, I show up as a part-time student, but only for ROTC academics. Could I still apply to the SURE program? Yes, definitely. We'll be able to see that. So it's still apply. You're still eligible. We know that you're not a full-time, USC engineering student. So definitely apply. If we already sent a request for a letter of recommendation to our professors without mentioning the deadline, would you recommend sending up a follow about the deadline? Yes. I would follow up and just, let them know what you're applying to, what the deadline is. Once again, give yourself some wiggle room. So if the deadline is the 16th, let them know that it's due on the 14th or the 15th. And yeah, just kind of give them an idea of what it is, and maybe even share your excitement. One of the things that I would say about letters of recommendation, sometimes professors, they work with a lot of students, and while they may know you, it may be hard for them to recall specific instances that they would want to put in a letter. So it helps if you send them your resume. If you send them a brief write-up on what you're applying for and what it means to you and what you plan to do with it and what your goals are, because they can leverage a lot of that information in writing the letter of recommendation. So, but definitely follow up. Let's see, another question. What if you don't have a lot of experience, especially when COVID hit? I will be getting my AA degree in math. I don't know, Andy, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think that is perfectly understandable. I think a lot of folks are in this position where maybe they had an opportunity to gain some experience, but unfortunately were not able to do so due to COVID. So I think those are the things where in the application you would have that explanation. Again, there's a section that says, did anything affect your, college experience so far that you think we should know beyond just, your interest in these labs. So that's definitely something I would kind of elaborate on in that space. And at the same time, I would say, maybe focusing on the skill sets that you did gain or that you do have, how that can be transferable. And I would also look at again, under the research positions, it's very brief, but some of the faculties have also listed prerequisites. So, if you know for sure, like, oh, that is a prerequisite that I don't meet, because some of them are very specific, like, oh, we want somebody who knows differential equations, or we want somebody with Python programming, like, they get kind of specific about the kind of skill sets that they want. So I would really go be discerning about that and look at it and go, okay, well, which are the ones that feasibly can match my skill set? So that at least kind of puts you at a better starting point, I would say.
Yeah, that's great. Great answer for that. When I asked for my letters of recommendation, I told them I'd be applying to the Amazon Sure program. Sounds like the Sure program would be a better fit, though. So should I let them know that I have changed which one I'm applying to? I don't think so. I think there's so, like Andy had mentioned, like there is a lot of overlap between the two programs. And for that little nuance, I don't think you would need to notify your recommenders, but I defer to Andy on this one. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's a minute thing. We're going off of your preferences that you've listed in the application. So
yeah, totally. Stuff. All right. Are there any other questions? Like I said, you're going to get a follow-up email with the links to the websites, to the applications, for you to take another dive into what they are, and also a reminder of the deadline that is coming up. And yeah, we're excited to get your applications and potentially have you here on campus this summer. I know Andy's working really hard right now, fleshing out a lot of details for these programs, and it's going to be an exciting summer. I think the students that do this program are in for a treat for sure. Another question: if we wanted to confirm our application submission, what is the best way to do so? Sometimes Google Form submissions do not get through. Thanks.
Yeah, I can answer that. Just email me. I can look for you in the back end.
Awesome.
And I know Google Form is not ideal. We are gonna try to revamp this process next year for a more streamlined process.
Yeah. Another question. Earlier, you said that applicants need to be available for the entire time for the research. I already know that I would not be able to work for 2 days towards the beginning of the research. Is that an automatic no for acceptance to the program? I don't think so. I mean, 2 days is not that bad. I think you will, once you know for sure if you're not going to be able to be, around for a specific amount of time at the beginning, just to communicate that. And I'm sure something can be worked out, but yeah, I think it gets more of a issue if it's like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then that probably won't be a good fit. But if there's 2 days that you need for a prior commitment, then I'm sure that can be worked with.
Yeah, and again, this is, I think, something you would also kind of put somewhere on your application, just so like faculty would be aware.
Yeah, totally. Let's see. Can you clarify what will occur if the letter of recommendations don't come in by the deadline?
I think we'll let you know that
Yeah.
they're not in, and then we'll work with you to get the letters from the recommender. So there is a bit of a turnaround time between you submitting and then us forwarding everything to the faculty. I mean, it's not long. It's like 2 days. So hopefully within those 2-3 days of us collecting all the materials and then seeing what's missing, we'll get it in. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, any other questions? Any other questions? As you can see, our email addresses are listed on the screen, but I think Billy may have put them in the chat as well. So definitely, like we said, email us if you have questions or things that come up. Can I have my recommenders submit before I do? That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a separate form. So in fact, I would love it if they could submit it before the 16th, because that takes all the headache out of everything. So yeah.
Yeah. That's great. You know, once again, I can't stress enough. So if you're at the beginning process of this and are beginning to ask for recommendations for this, give them as much information as possible. And give them options. So, you know, provide your resume or your CV, provide them with some bullet points of things that you've accomplished, you know, thus far. Give them things that they can add to it. Also, you know, when you make the ask them if they can write a, you know, a strong or positive letter of recommendation for this program. And a lot of it is just in the wording, you know, that you use when you ask these questions. I mean, for these letters of recommendation. So definitely empower them to be able to write it as quickly as possible by giving them all that they need.
And if I may, Kevin, I'll just give some more insight too as to like what I believe the faculty would be looking for, just in terms of like, you know, characteristics, quality of a candidate. I mean, yes, obviously, you know, you should have some background or some, you know, general knowledge of the skill sets that are going to be needed to be successful in the lab, but you're not expected to come in and be an expert, right? Like that's the whole reason that you're doing this research experience, is because you're here to gain experience. And you know, you'll be working closely with PhD mentors, and sometimes the faculty will be overseeing you. But really, you know, it's somebody who can take initiative, right? And somebody who is not afraid to ask questions and doesn't need to really be prompted to get things done. So I think if you can have like your letter of recommenders kind of show examples of like how you've done that, right? Like, you know, what kind of role do you take when you're on a team project? You know, what happens when you're faced with a problem and you have to solve the problem together as a team? Like all of those things that I think go beyond just having technical skill sets. It's also about all of those soft skills that I think are really, really important. And if you think about it, especially, this is an 8-week program. It will go by so quickly.
Yeah.
So it's also somebody who can, you know, be very flexible, adaptable, and just kind of hit the ground running, right? So, you know, how do you demonstrate that initiative in things that you've already done, right? So that way it can make you kind of stand out, not just from a technical perspective, but also as just like a quality candidate in general.
Yeah. That's great advice. Yeah. Any last questions before we end for the evening? Sorry, I have one more question. Is having 2 letters a hard requirement, or will one be okay as well? Good question. Yeah.
I think just from a competitive nature, we do want to see 2. You know, it's great to have 1, but I think 2 just to kind of get a different sense of like how you operate in different settings. So reach out if there's like, you know, if you're like, hey, I'm having trouble figuring it out. You know, maybe we can have a conversation about that. But yeah, we really do. I would say, yeah, two for sure.
Yeah, I think we can give you access to the recording. Yeah, we recorded it. So in the follow-up, I will send kind of our follow-up email that has all the links and the application deadline reminder and information on how to access this recording as well, if you'd like to go back and you know, get more insight from it.
Yeah, we'll get it uploaded to YouTube. So it won't be through Zoom, but it'll be through probably YouTube.
Yeah, so once we get it uploaded to YouTube, I'll include it in that email. So it might be tomorrow that you get the follow-up email, but we'll wait for that and then we'll get it to you. Any last questions? Awesome. Well, we thank you all for joining us. This has been a great session. You guys had amazing questions. I hope that this provided some clarity to what the programs are, what your experience will be like, as well as how to navigate the application process. You know, the deadline is quickly approaching, but you still have some time. So take your time with it, you know, and work on it little by little. Once again, you know, just a rule of thumb, if it's the 16th as a deadline, then, you know, you want to get it in by the 14th or the 15th, just to give yourself some cushion. And, you know, same for your letters of recommendation. But like I said before, we really are excited about this opportunity for you. We look forward to getting your applications and really excited to kind of dive into those and potentially have you on campus. It's going to be a great summer, really exciting, and really, really beneficial to kind of expand that network as well as your resume and CV. So thank you for joining us. Our emails are on the screen, so if there's other questions that come up, feel free to reach out and we'll get that information to you. And be on the lookout for a follow-up email from us as well that will have more information about the program. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.